let's talk about some of the stuff that you guys cover. One of the big things you're very interested in, and I've been reading a bit about it, is a case involving a woman called Melanie Shaw. Do you want to get into a bit of that, Lou?
Oh, right, yeah, I really do, actually. And first of all, can I just plug a group that's been set up on Facebook called Justice for Melanie Shaw? And the guys within that group, I mean, the research and what they have been doing there. I mean, I can't be on the Facebook all the time because we've got other stories. But for Justice for Melanie Shaw group on Facebook, the guys in there have been absolutely brilliant, getting in touch with MPs. But the story of Melanie Shaw was she was in care homes in Nottingham. From a young age, she started reporting child abuse, children being suicided from this care home. There's also a gentleman called Mickey Summers, actually, who has been doing incredible things. He was actually at Beechwood before Melanie. He had gone through the same thing. There's looking for justice for him, sure. But sticking with Melanie, she's now been in prison since August sometime, in August. It was her testimony to Nottingham Police in 2011 that unleashed Operation Daybreak, which was an investigation of 100-odd victims at Beechwood. And then since more at Bracken House, which is also up there in Nottingham. So she stepped forward. Next thing she contacts us to start exposing what is going on. The next thing, there is a charge of arson being put up against her, and she is thrown in a high security prison in Peterborough, and it's run by a private company called Sodexo. And that's based in Peterborough. She's currently locked up in there for 23 and a half hours a day, with only half an hour to get out with other people. She was put in solitary confinement. Now, what I notice with a lot of cases, people that go into these prisons, who whistleblowers especially, who end up getting put into prison, either end up, if they're not on medication before they go in, they're forcibly medicated. She, unfortunately, because of the horrific things that she went through, she was on sort of Valium and other medication. That has started being withdrawn from her. And she's been locked up now. The column did a bit of investigation into this supposed arson charge that they put her in, that what she got sent down into the prison for. And we can't find any evidence at all of a fire.
No evidence at all, Lou?
Where she's, no, nothing. She has then been refused bail. And all she's done, bearing in mind, all she has done is exposed the abuse that is going on, you know, and what has happened to her and other children. And now she is in prison for 23 and a half hours every day. Last week, staff at the prison told her that on last Friday, she was going to be up for a bail hearing. So she'd contacted Brian with regards to this. We couldn't find anything via the courts. We couldn't find anything when we contacted the courts about whether she was going up. And it was a complete set of mind games done by the prison wardens and the people within that prison getting into her head.
Can we go over the timeline again, Lou, for our American listeners and our listeners in Ireland who maybe haven't followed the story as well as we do? So this is a lady who was at Beechwood. She was in care in Beechwood when she was younger.
When she was younger, yeah.
And she was abused there. There's no doubt about that. She was horrifically abused there. Now, in 2011, you said, Lou, just to get a timeline straight for people, and in my head as well, I've not followed this as well as you do. You're all over this. Melanie went and set off Operation Daybreak by telling the police what had happened to her and what went on there, because terrible things went on there. Young girls allegedly committed suicide. Maybe they didn't commit suicide, allegedly committed suicide. And she tells them, she brings this awful news to the police. That was in 2011. And between now and then, this woman is locked up for 23 hours a day on an arson charge. And you guys, and you're proper journalists, and I'm saying that you are because you are, you can't find any evidence of any arson anywhere. We can't
find any evidence of any fire gone on in Nottingham to where it's supposed to be. We cannot find any, because I believe that most fire stations have to print where they've been, and we cannot find anything.
And what sort of, are you welcome, Lou? I mean, when you ring up these places, you and your colleagues at UK Column, are you welcome? I mean, do you get short shrift from these people? Do they listen to you? Or how do you get?
Yeah, people don't want to speak to us at all. I mean, Brian's the one who gets on the phone to them, and this is Brian's case. You know, Brian's been dealing with Melanie since she contacted us at some point back in July. He's been working with Melanie and being there. She has been absolutely treated appallingly by Nottingham City Council, the County Council, the Child Protection teams, various charities, the CPS, legal teams, and Nottinghamshire Police. She has been absolutely treated appallingly. And so now she is still sitting in this prison for exposing the child abuse. I mean, we've just had it all come out about Rotherham. It's now come out about the actress Samantha Morton, who I think was in AI with Tom Cruise.
That's right, yeah.
I don't watch this sort of thing, but she has been in this prison and stopped from using the phone. She manages to get to the phone to try and check in with Brian. We've got people coming up and supporting her. A fantastic lady who's been supporting her wanted to go in as Mackenzie's friend. They closed the courts, being done in one of these secret courts yet again. No one was allowed in there. And all she has done is expose the abuse that she went through. And as I say, they've put her in prison for arson, as we can't find any evidence of that. They've got in her head, they've stopped her medication that she's required, they're messing around. And then on top of that, after we started exposing what happened to Melanie, then we ended up speaking to a gentleman called Mickey Summers, who was at Beechwood before that, and he has spoken out, and anybody can just go and Google Mickey Summers and see his plight and what happened to him at the hands of the people at Beechwood Children's Home.
I'm just looking here, Lou. So across Nottinghamshire County Council, you have John Mann for Labour, Anna Soubry, Conservative, of course, people will know who she is, Vernon Coker, Labour, Sir Alan Meale, Labour. Do any of these people have anything to say on this?
Well, we haven't had any comeback. I mean, a lot of people in the groups have been writing to the MPs. There has been a response from Zach Goldsmith. I know that they've contacted Simon Danzig as well, and Simon Danzig has also re-inflated the Westminster paedophile ring as well. So they have got in touch. The supporters in the group for Melanie have have written to these politicians. Zach Goldsmith, granted, he came straight back and said it would be better if they got in touch with Melanie's MP. So they forwarded all the details over at the moment. But I mean, this is happening all the time, Richie.
Yeah.
What we're dealing with in the column. I mean, you were very kind saying I'm a journalist, and I'm not a journalist. I've just all this has just landed at my feet.
No, you are. It doesn't matter a damn whether you went to any college or university and got a qualification.
Yeah, I mean, this has fallen at my feet, and I just want to expose what is really going on in this country, and this is happening. This is a girl who has gone through horrific things as a child, been messed up. She has been abused, and now she's holed up in a high security prison. You know, and they won't let her out. And then you've got this Samantha Morton who came out and spoke about what she went through in a Nottingham Children's Home, and the Nottingham Council are putting out apologies to her. Well, you know, we're trying to get in touch with Samantha Morton's people to say, look, this is going on, and this girl, this Melanie, is in prison, and what is going on with her. You know, they're putting out these apologies. We've just had Rotherham, all this exposure at Rotherham, where the chief of police was head of children's services, and he refused to stand down. And then Theresa May. I mean, what's her thinking? She appoints Butler Sloth to cover this case.
Yeah.
She now presents Wolf. You know, Wolf lives on the same street as Leon Britton. The wife of Leon Britton, she's friends with. Also on that street is the famous Dolphin Square, where many victims and witnesses of what went on back during the 80s and the paedophile rings, they reported that they were taken to Dolphin Square. That is on this street. And also, I don't know if you're aware, living on that street was the MI5 agent who was found in the body bag in his apartment a few years ago.
When I was told that, I had to look at it 3 times before I believed it.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Yeah.
On this one street. So I actually the other day, I'm not like Mike and Brian. They write articles and everything. And they told me I've got to write an article. So I wrote an open letter to Theresa May asking her who made the decision to appoint Mrs. Wolfe to head the inquiry, on what basis was she selected, what was the procedure to appoint her, and where is the procedure set out for the public to see? Was there any research done into possible connections to ministers implicated in the inquiry? And is Mrs. Wolfe related to Baron Henry Wolfe, who refused Barry George, who was put up for Jill Dando's murder, and he refused him bail, to the right to appeal? And so these are the questions that I've put to Theresa May, and as of yet we haven't had anything come back. But these are all questions that need. This is going on. This is reality. This is Britain 2014, and it's people like Brian and Bill Maloney, Chris Fay, who are out there working to get to the bottom of this and get this exposed and get these people out of government.
Our mutual friend David Icke has been talking about this since the late 1990s, the mid to late 1990s. It's extraordinary to think the ridicule that he got back then when he was talking about this. And I'm thinking now, it's 2 months almost to the day that Peter McKelvey, and if I'm right, he was a former child protection officer, I think.
That's
McKelvey
correct.
was. He came out, didn't he? He spoke on Newsnight, if I remember, and said that, that some of the people involved in child sex abuse in this country over the years are extremely high-profile people, military figures, senior politicians, and even people linked to the British royal family, he said. Almost 16 years after David Icke said something similar in a book back in 1998. Now, that was extraordinary. I remember back in July, we were, at the beginning of setting this up, and I remember thinking to myself, I never thought I'd see the day when a guy like that would come out and say that. It's not happened quickly enough since then, though, has it, Lou?
No. Things have been moving. Investigations have been done. It needs a public inquiry, and this is what Bill Maloney's actually campaigning for now, to get a proper investigation. Chris Fay also worked for NAPEG, which was the National Association for Children in Care. He's talking to a main witness along with Bill, and they are looking to start their own inquiry up with independent people, victims, people who've been there supporting all of this from day one. This should have been stamped out. We had Cameron's close friend and one of his secretaries, which was all hushed up by the press. Can't remember his name now, Stone possibly. He had an office. He had an office within 10 Downing Street, thousands of indecent images on children.
Thousands. Yeah.
It's there within the head of government, and it's being pushed under. It's just being pushed to one side. There's been another problem, reaction, solution. There's been other problems coming up. So this one's being in, so we can just forget about this one, for the moment is being pushed under the carpet.
Lou, we're going to return to that. Hopefully you'll come back on and talk to me about that. I'm not leaving you now. I want you to talk to me about something else.
Yeah.
Before we talk about ATFOD and the harassment that you've got at the UK column about putting your programme out, is there a campaign for Melanie's show that our listeners can jump on and join and start sending letters or emails to people? Is there somewhere you can direct them?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go and join the Facebook page, which is Justice for Melanie Shaw. It's a group. She can be contacted by letter, and it's Melanie Shaw, and her prison number is A for Alpha 4126. D for David, E for Echo, and that's Her Majesty, HMP, Her Majesty's Prison, Peterborough, Savile Road, ironic, SAVILLE Road, Westwood, Peterborough, PE3 7PD. And they don't send money. You can send money to her, but you need to put your full name and address. She does need stamps. And just a letter of support to say that we haven't forgotten about her. She's just in there 23 and a half hours a day, locked up.
It's disgraceful, Lou. It's disgraceful. Stay with me. I'm going to take a very short break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the problems you've had with the broadcasting authorities, the regulatory authorities here in England. Lou Collins is going to stay with me for a few minutes. She does have young kids, though. She'll have to put them to bed at some stage. She told me earlier on. She's with UK Column, of course. Her and Brian Garish, they do terrific work there, putting this sort of information out to people, and we like them for that. We're in it together at the end of the day. It is 19 minutes to the top of the hour. Brief break, and back then with more from Lou. Melanie Shaw can be contacted by letter at Melanie Shaw. Her prison number is A for Alpha 4126, D for Delta, E for Echo, at Her Majesty's Prison, Peterborough, Savile Road in Peterborough. And you can find the